Are. Good morning, guys. Welcome back to another video. Take a deep breath with me. If you are watching this in bed or while making your morning coffee, I hope your day is starting off a little smoother than mine. To be honest, today did not start the way I wanted it to. My alarm went off at 6 in the morning. I had this picture in my head. I was going to wake up early, do some light stretching, drink a warm cup of water, and get straight to work. I wanted one of those calm, aesthetic mornings you always see online. But reality had a very different plan for me. I snoozed the alarm once, twice, 3 times. Before I knew it, 45 minutes had vanished. Just gone. I opened my eyes, looked at the clock, and immediately felt that heavy weight in my chest. You know that feeling, right? That tiny instant panic where you realize you are already behind, and you have not even put your feet on the floor yet. I sat on the edge of my bed for a long time. The room was cold. The light coming through the blinds was gray and soft. I just sat there, staring at my slippers, wondering why waking up on time feels like winning a marathon sometimes. I pushed the heavy blanket aside. My feet touched the cold wooden floor. A small shiver ran up my back. I stood up, stretched my arms, and walked down the dimly lit hallway. The floorboards creaked under my weight. My apartment felt strangely quiet, like it was still sleeping around me. Eventually, I dragged myself to the kitchen. The air in the kitchen was chilly. The only sound was the low, steady hum of the refrigerator. I decided that coffee was non-negotiable. I needed something warm to wake up my senses. I opened the cupboard and grabbed my favorite mug, the one with the chipped handle that I refused to throw away. I opened the coffee container. I was half asleep, moving like a ghost. And then it happened. My hand slipped, my elbow hit the edge of the shelf. The entire container of coffee grounds tipped over. Black, ground coffee covered the counter. It spilled into the cracks of the cutting board. It fell onto the floor, spreading across the clean tiles like dark dust. I just stood there. I did not scream. I did not cry. I just held my empty mug and looked at the black mess everywhere. It is funny how a tiny mistake at 7 in the morning can feel like a total disaster. In that moment, I wanted to turn around, walk back to my bedroom, and crawl under the blankets until tomorrow. It was messy. It was annoying. It was so completely unnecessary. I took a slow breath. I told myself, okay, it is fine. It is just coffee. It can be cleaned up. I grabbed a damp cloth and a dustpan from the closet. I spent the next 20 minutes sweeping up coffee grounds, wiping down the counters, and scrubbing the floor on my hands and knees. Every time I thought I got it all, I found another small patch of dark powder near the fridge. By the time I was finished, my hands smelled like strong espresso, but at least the floor was clean. I finally made my cup of coffee. I poured hot water slowly over the fresh grounds. The aroma filled the small kitchen. It was not pretty. It was not fancy. But it was hot, and that was all I cared about. I added a small splash of oat milk, watching it swirl into the dark brown liquid. I walked over to the living room window. I looked outside. The sky was filled with heavy gray clouds. It looked like it was going to rain at any moment. The street below was quiet. A few cars passed by slowly, their tires wet on the pavement. I took my first sip of coffee. The heat spread down my chest, and for the first time today, I felt my shoulders drop a little bit. I realized something in that quiet moment. The morning was messy, yes, but it was not ruined. A bad start does not mean a bad day. It just means you have to adjust your expectations. After finishing my coffee, I walked over to my desk and opened my laptop. I had a long list of things to do today. Editing a new video, writing script outlines, answering client emails, doing laundry, going grocery shopping, cleaning the bathroom. When you look at a list like that all at once, it feels overwhelming. You feel like you have to climb a mountain without any shoes. I decided to start with something small. I opened my email inbox. 52 unread messages. Some were important. Most were just promotional spam from shops I visited once months ago. I cleared through them one by one. Click, delete, reply, flag, small actions, little victories. Around 10 o'clock, the sun tried to break through the clouds. A single beam of light hit my desk. It illuminated the tiny dust particles floating in the air. I stopped typing and just watched it for a second. We spend so much of our days rushing from one task to the next. We do not pause to look at the light. We do not listen to the quiet moments. We are always preparing for the next hour, the next day, the next week. Today, I wanted to try something different. I wanted to stay right here, in this messy, imperfect moment. I tried to get back to editing my video. I opened my editing software, dragged a few clips into the timeline, and started reviewing the footage. But my mind was wandering. I found myself staring at the same 3-second clip over and over again. My focus was completely gone. I tried organizing my desk instead. I rearranged my pens. I stacked my notebooks. I wiped down my keyboard. It was pure procrastination, and I knew it. But sometimes your brain just refuses to cooperate, no matter how hard you force it. Just as I was getting frustrated with myself, my phone rang. It was an unexpected call from a local delivery service. A package I was waiting for had been delivered, but to the wrong address. The delivery driver had dropped it off at a small pickup point on the other side of the neighborhood, nearly 2 miles away. I felt another wave of frustration creep in. My schedule for the afternoon was already tight. I had work to finish. Now I had to put on real clothes, walk 30 minutes across town, and haul a heavy box back home before the shop closed. I sat back in my desk chair and sighed loudly. I could complain about it. I could get angry at the delivery driver. Or I could see it as an excuse to get out of the house. I had been sitting at my desk for hours. My eyes were tired from staring at the bright screen. My legs felt stiff and heavy. Maybe this unexpected errand was actually what I needed. A forced break. A chance to clear my head and get some fresh air. I stood up, stretched my legs, and walked to my bedroom closet. I put on a thick, comfortable sweater, pulled on my favorite pair of worn-out denim jeans, and grabbed my heavy rain jacket. I laced up my white sneakers, grabbed my keys, and stepped out the front door. The air outside was cool, damp, and fresh. It smelled like autumn rain and wet pavement. I put my hands deep into my jacket pockets and started walking down the sidewalk. The trees in the neighborhood were changing colors. Bright yellow, orange, and deep red leaves were scattered across the concrete, crunching under my feet with every single step. As I walked, I noticed how busy everyone seemed. People were rushing to their cars with umbrellas under their arms. Parents were pushing strollers quickly down the street. Delivery bikes were zipping past me on the wet roads. Everyone had somewhere to go, someone to meet, something urgent to do. And there I was, walking slowly, without any real rush, just heading across town to pick up a misplaced box. It felt nice, in a strange way. It felt like I had stepped outside of the rat race for a little while. I crossed the main road and turned onto a quiet side street lined with old brick buildings. I passed by my favorite local bakery. The warm, incredible smell of fresh sourdough bread, melted butter, and vanilla drifted out onto the sidewalk. My stomach grumbled instantly. I realized I had skipped actual breakfast because of the coffee spilling incident earlier. I stopped in front of the bakery window and looked at the pastries on display. Flaky butter croissants, fruit tarts, golden cinnamon rolls covered in sweet glaze. I had not planned on spending money on pastries today. I had a daily routine, and buying a fancy breakfast on a random weekday afternoon was not part of it. But then I thought, why not? Rules are meant to be broken once in a while. Routine is great, but spontaneity brings life back into your day. I opened the glass door. A small brass bell chimed softly above my head. The bakery was warm, dimly lit, and smelled heavenly. The air inside felt like a warm hug after being out in the cold wind. The cashier behind the counter smiled warmly at me. I ordered a hot cappuccino with oat milk and a warm, freshly baked cinnamon roll. I took a seat by the window, placed my phone face down on the wooden table, and just waited. No checking notifications, no looking at emails. No scrolling through social media, just sitting watching the steam rise softly from my coffee cup. When the cashier brought the cinnamon roll to my table, it was still steaming hot. The icing was melting over the warm edges, dripping onto the plate. I picked up my fork and took a bite. It was soft, rich, sweet, and deeply comforting. Honestly, it was probably the best thing I had tasted all week. In that moment, sitting in that warm bakery, I was so glad the delivery driver had made a mistake. If my package had arrived safely at my front door, I would still be sitting at my desk, staring at a laptop screen, feeling stressed, eating a dry piece of toast. Sometimes the tiny disruptions that ruin our original plans actually save our day. They force us to slow down. They push us toward moments we would have otherwise completely missed. I finished my pastry slowly, taking small bites, and drank the rest of my cappuccino. The warm liquid made me feel relaxed and fully awake. I paid the cashier, said thank you, and walked back out onto the street. The trek to the pickup station was another 15 minutes away. Instead of taking the shortest route along the busy main road, I decided to take the scenic way. I walked through a small neighborhood park. The grass was deep green and covered in raindrops. A few dog owners were walking their pets, holding umbrellas and chatting on the park benches. I stopped near a large oak tree for a moment to watch a golden retriever run around in circles, chasing a tennis ball and jumping into a giant pile of dry leaves. The dog was completely soaking wet, covered in bits of leaves and mud, but it did not care at all. It was having the absolute best time of its life. It was pure, unfiltered, simple joy. It reminded me that happiness does not have to be complicated. It does not require a grand vacation or a major achievement. It can be as simple as a dog playing in a leaf pile on a chilly weekday afternoon. I continued walking through the park and eventually reached the edge of the residential area. The package pickup station was located inside a tiny, cramped corner